Marriage and possibly divorce. Kim Baer from Baer Law Office, thank you so much for joining us today. Kind of fits in with something great that happened a while ago. Yeah, nice transition. And what are we talking about today?
Well, I thought we'd talk today about if you're contemplating a divorce, we can give you some tips on how to keep the cost and hopefully the legal fees down.
So a cheery subject.
A cheery subject.
It is if we can help people. Yeah, if we can help them out this morning, because I don't think I've ever heard of divorce being inexpensive.
No, and it's not cheap, but there are things you can do to keep the cost down. And I don't know if you've seen in the news, but what we see from January to April is really a surge in divorce filings.
Really?
Yeah, people get through the holidays, and then they want to file. It's tax time. They're getting some refund back, and they say, okay. And maybe it's a New Year's resolution. I don't know. But
is it the cold and just like living together, not being able to get outside and just on top of each other?
You know, it's across the nation.
Months?
So even in warm weather, I think it's just the matter of, filing for divorce during the holidays is really not a good thing. So people just kind of want to wait till the holidays are done, and then they say, okay, let's go ahead and do it. So the first tip I have is when you file for a divorce, there are court costs, and there's no way to get around that. But one of the costs that you can try and get around is the actual service. So James, if you and I were getting divorced and I filed for divorce, if I don't want to pay a process server $50 to $75, which is normally what it costs, I can say, James, can I just hand this to you, or I can leave it on the counter, or however you want to do it.
As opposed to being served
as opposed to being actually served by a process server. And so when we do that, we also, James, would give you a piece of paper that says acceptance of service, and you're just going to sign it. And it doesn't say that you agree with anything that I put in there. It just says, I got it. I got the papers, the process can begin. So
they can't go back on you and be like, I agreed to it, but now, whoa.
Exactly. And people normally are very reluctant to sign an acceptance of service just because they don't know what it is.
The verbiage
but that's a tip, and it should just be real straightforward. So if that happens to you, it's one way to save, like I said, $50 to $75. So the other big tip that I have for people today, and it's a tip that we give everybody that comes into our office, is the more the two of you can agree on, the less you have to pay the attorneys.
But don't you think at this point, they're not really agreeing on a whole lot of anything?
Well, you'd be surprised. When
it comes to money, they might still agree.
If you can save some money in the long run, maybe we'll learn to agree a little bit.
Exactly. So for instance, maybe you and I are in agreement with the kids. Maybe you've got a job that you've got to travel, so it only makes sense that the kids are going to be primarily with me. Okay, that's a huge issue. If we can agree on that, and typically what we see in divorces is that if people have children and they can agree on custody, everything else kind of falls into place. So work on that. Sometimes you can't agree. Can you agree on what you're going to do with the house? Can you agree what you're going to do with the credit cards? So the more you agree to, then the less you have to pay for attorney's fees.
Remind me what the law is in Iowa. Is it just 50-50 split down the middle?
It's equitable division, and so that's kind of what we're aiming for. Sometimes it's not going to be 50-50 because of the fact that maybe there's a gambling issue, or there's a drug issue, or there's alcohol issue, or there's been an affair, and marital money, and a lot of marital money has gone outside the marriage. So sometimes then it's equitable division might be, hey, it's more fair for me to get more if you cheated.
What if one party in the marriage makes a considerable amount more than the other party, whether it's male or female? Does that factor in?
Right. Well, and so then we're talking about alimony. And so one of the questions we always have about alimony is it an alimony case, and then is there an ability to pay? And so an alimony case is going to be exactly what you just talked about, James. Somebody's making more, and then we have to look at the length of the marriage to kind of determine how long the alimony is going to be paid. So in Iowa, 5 to 10 years is still kind of considered short-term marriage. 10 to 15, 16, now we're getting mid. If you've been married close to 20 years or over 20 years and there's a significant disparity, it's probably going to be an alimony case, and it's probably going to be alimony for a long time, maybe even lifetime.
Now, is there any situation where you can just have a flat fee? It's like, okay, we're going to work together, we're going to figure things out, can we just get a flat fee?
And that's the best way to save money. So if you believe that you can sit down and work out most things and all things, you know, hopefully, then yes, you qualify for a flat fee. There are lots of law firms in Des Moines that offer those.
Okay.
And so literally one attorney can just draft everything up. Now what you need to know in Iowa, one attorney can only represent one client.
Right.
So, so for instance, if the two of you were married and you came in and talked to me and said, hey, I think we're going to reach an agreement on all of this, I'd say, great, James, here's what our flat fee is. It's $18.50 if there are no children, and it's $23.50 if there are children. And then the question you want to ask any law firm that you talk to about a flat fee, what does it include? Because you'll see advertisements for really low flat fees.
Right.
Well, then what you want to know is, does it cover the court costs? Because that's $235. Is it going to cover a quitclaim deed for the house? Because that might be another $200. Is it going to cover a qualified domestic relations order? That might be another $200. So
there's all these administrative kind of costs that are maybe not built into the price.
Right. So what you want to do is, if you're going to compare flat fee to flat fee, is just kind of look at it and make sure that whatever you're paying, you're getting, you know, that you're getting everything. So for instance, in our office, the $18.50, if you have no kids, it includes the court cost, it includes one quitclaim deed, it includes a qualified domestic relations order. So it includes everything that you should need to kind of get you through, as long as you don't fight.
Would that flat rate, would that kind of be considered a mediation?
It's not a mediation, because what we do is we work with you, we draft everything up, and then you go back and you would meet with Jackie and say, hey, here's what it says, you know, what do you think about this? And you might come back and say, hey, Kim, we're going to switch cars. I'm going to take this car and Jackie's going to take that car. We try to avoid mediation, because if we go to mediation, that's an added cost, and now we have to pay a mediator. And typically we only use mediation if we've got issues that we can't agree on. So,
would you say the most expensive part about a divorce is just sometimes how long it takes to get through one? Is that the most expensive? I mean, I keep hearing things that pop up that cost, but is that just one of the biggest costs, is time?
Time, and you know, the courts are trying to deal with that. So for instance, right now we have a rule that says that the divorces from the start to the end are only supposed to take 9 months. And so that really has everybody hopping. You can ask for an extension, but you have to have a good reason. Sometimes it might be it's a custody battle or something like that. But we try to move things along. There's a 90-day waiting period from the time that somebody accepts the service. So for a flat fee, what we try to do is during that 90 days get everything drafted up, so that hopefully we can get you divorced.
Get things rock and roll. Okay, if people want more details, where's the best place that they can contact you, Kim?
Yeah, just give us a call at the office, 515-INJURED or 515-279-2000.
Wonderful. Great advice this morning as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you.